Tomorrow morning's race, yeah.
You've got 6 cars. You've got 3 in. You've got one that with Truex is in a tough situation, and Bubba Wallace in a more challenging situation. There's a scenario where it might be in Truex's best interest to push Blaney, but follow him across the line at the end, because that would assure that both are in.
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay if that was a situation that the 19 would work with the 12 to help get in, or can he not do that? And what's the relationship in trying to help the 19 and the 23 get in for the other cars?
So ever since this whole era of team partnership, arguably we're to blame for that. 2016, you can put it on the calendar, and we kind of changed how we went racing. What I'll say is from the very beginning, this was like, hey, why don't we work together? It seems to work. We've never been those guys that mandated, that came down on our drivers, that after the fact scolded. That's not our style. We are not heavy-handed. If we can work together, we work together. But you know what the drivers will say, and the general feeling is, okay, during the first 3 quarters of the game, you know, there's definitely an advantage to try and team up and to lift, you know, ourselves above. But when it comes down to racing for the win, it is circumstantial. You're gonna work with whomever is around you, and we totally understand that. I have no problem with Ryan Blaney winning that race tonight, because if he does, that locks Martin Truex in. Obviously, I would prefer for Martin to win. I would prefer for Bubba to win. But if circumstances are such that Martin ends up, because he can't get to the finish line first, he pushes Blaney, not a problem at all.
Hitter, but this is potentially a generational talent at 19 that you, in theory, should have for 20 plus years.
So I'll disconnect that question, Dustin, and simply put Ty Gibbs in a vacuum. And if there,
can you do that in this situation?
Well, let me kind of think this through. But if there was a silver lining to Kurt not being able to race, and I don't like saying that, because arguably there is no silver lining, but it has given us an unexpected and unplanned opportunity to see what Ty Gibbs can do in this car. What we've all come to appreciate is this car is so different than anything these drivers have raced in the past. It's so different than the Xfinity car, and every driver has adapted to it to varying degrees. We've been amazed at how quickly Ty Gibbs has adapted to this new car. And not that any of us had any doubts, but it certainly has given us a level of comfort that if and when an opportunity for Ty comes along to put him in a Cup car, he is going to kill it. He is going to kill it. On strategy and being strategic and looking out at the horizon and planning forward, Ty is going to be a big chip. He's going to be a big player in Toyota's NASCAR Cup history. Whether that's next year or the year after, it'll happen when it's meant to happen, I believe.
What about now? What about if, you know, you can find a way to work him in? Is that an interest to you, or are you not? Is he not ready?
No, he's ready. He's ready now. I mean, he's driving tonight, right? And he may be driving a few more weeks. So,
but I mean, to lead a team, you know, is different than, and he can do it, but you know.
Again, he's proven that he can do it. He's proven that if he has a chance to start and race for a championship next year, he's ready.
Anytime. Decision, certainly. People look at it and say, well, it helps Mark. And, you know, so one Toyota driver going out, potentially helping another Toyota driver get in. So there's this question of, you know, did the Toyota urge 2311 to make that decision at all?
Toyota had zero involvement in that consideration, in that decision. This was Kurt Busch's decision. I told Kurt after he made that how impressed I was with the level of grace and respect that showed on him was really impressive. He could have been selfish and just ridden it out, and yet he knew that, you know, because of the respect that he has for his fellow competitors, for the respect that he has for this sport, he decided to hand back his medical waiver and let somebody race. I mean, again, our sport, you know, in the playoffs are based on 16 drivers racing for the championship. Major League Baseball, it's 10 teams, you know, competing for a championship. NFL, it's, I don't even know how.
16,
14.
Jordan
Right?
Yankee.
Right. So it's not 15, it's 16. So, you know, what's cool is that next week in Darlington, there's going to be 16 drivers competing, you know, starting to compete for a championship. But Toyota did not have any play in that. That's not our role. It started with Kurt Busch, and then it was for NASCAR to react to Kurt's decision.
Anytime the topic of the next generation engine platform comes up, you've been very clear that we're getting close to a deadline, and then kind of kick the can down the road a little bit and keep moving that deadline back. Where are we at on that in terms of what is the deadline now?
Yeah, boy, Matt, there's not a clear deadline. I think market forces, social forces, are pushing all of us to consider the issue of carbon neutrality. You know, for each one of us manufacturers, that is driving our product mix. That is, the CAFE standards. The government is driving that forward very intentionally. And again, you look across the landscape of global motorsports, and every sport is having to deal with that on some level. So we continue to be very engaged with NASCAR as a manufacturer in this area. We are talking about a number of different technologies. You know, again, Toyota's philosophy is that there's not a one single technology that is better or exclusive to any other. So, you know, our philosophy is these technologies are evolving so quickly that it would be arguably foolish to go all in on one or the other. So our conversations are broad. We're bringing to the table a number of technologies that we're all looking at in varying levels. The question is, and what we haven't figured out is what fits our sport, and how can we bring these technologies to our sport in a manner that still engages our fans. We have to remind ourselves and refocus and recenter. We're in the entertainment business, number one, and we're not going to put the show on tonight without fans in the grandstands. And so whatever technologies we put forth have to get through, have to pass through that filter. We're not in the sport because of Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. We're in the sport because of the fans. So
you look at when NASCAR's looking at doing a Formula E series for next year, kind of a demonstration type of races. It's been kicked about a little bit. Is that something that Toyota would be interested in participating in?
Well, we're in the sport of NASCAR. And what I'll say, Jordan, is that's still a work in progress. We're a party to all of that, and we're going to participate in whatever NASCAR decides to do in that space.
If there's no doubt that Ty Gibbs is ready, I mean, no doubt that he is. But some people are saying that if you get out of the next gen car now and don't learn it at the speed of everyone else, that it would be a detriment. You know what I mean? Is that part of something you guys have been thinking about? Is that true?
I think that's a valid argument. I think because this next gen car is so different, what a driver is learning and building, other than racecraft at the Xfinity level, is not the same as what it used to be. There used to be, again, this very well experienced and successful ladder system. That was a function of these cars being very similar. That chain has been broken now. And now really the function of the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series is as much about racecraft, which is about building reps. What I find so impressive about Ty Gibbs is you look at the number of reps that he has versus most of his peers. And he is well on that. And if we were seeing a different product on track than what we have seen, again, you could make the argument that this young man needs just more reps. He's not ready for the show. Ty's ready.
Kyle, a few weeks ago you said there's a chance that it can still keep up. Earlier you said you're still in the mix. Can you put like a percentage, 70-30?
That percentage swings day to day. It really does. The highs and lows of this have been remarkable, and I'd be making it up.
So we have the Drivers Council, NASCAR, team owners, the OEMs. When it comes to this car potentially evolving next year, say the road courses and short tracks, which there's clearly some work to do there, what is Toyota and the OEM's role in working with NASCAR, the whole industry, to help that car evolve for tracks where it could perform better?
Yeah, we're in that respect, Matt. We're just one of the stakeholders. I think it's the teams and the OEMs and the drivers that are all working together to continue to refine the product. I think we're all open enough and honest enough to say that at a handful of tracks, it's been a little disappointing. I think we're all holding our breath for Martinsville, and we know that spring Martinsville race wasn't what we liked to see. So, obviously there was some testing done earlier this week. It's hard to judge because, again, the conditions are going to be different. But Goodyear has stepped up. They're trying to get something on track that's going to put on a better show. So it takes all of us. We're right in the middle of it.
I was thinking of involvement of the car. Was there anything that you've seen, considering Kurt Busch's injury, that you feel like needs to be changed from a safety standpoint in the next gen car?
Here's what I trust absolutely is that NASCAR, anytime there is an incident, right now more so than ever, anytime that car makes contact, NASCAR is all over it. They are CSIing every single incident. Their priority, their number one priority, which is consistent with all of ours, is the safety of this car and the safety of our drivers. So I trust that if there's things on the car that need to be addressed, that they will be addressed. But NASCAR has all of the information. They collect that. There's sensors, there's data that they own and that they'll use to continue to make sure we're keeping our drivers safe.
David, looking at the playoffs,